Have you ever encountered someone who seemed magnetically charming at first, only to leave you feeling drained and manipulated? You might be dealing with a narcissist. Hi everyone, welcome to MindBlend, the channel where we delve into the complexities of the human psyche. Today, we're shining a light on a personality type that often flies under the radar but can wreak havoc in your life, the narcissist. We'll equip you with the knowledge to identify the telltale signs of narcissism and protect yourself from its insidious effects. Make sure to subscribe to MindBlend and hit that like button so you don't miss out on future explorations into the human condition. One hallmark of a narcissist is their unshakable belief in their own superiority. They dominate conversations, steering the topic back to themselves at every opportunity. This inflated ego isn't born out of genuine confidence, but rather a profound insecurity and a desperate need for validation. They crave admiration, seeking it out like a drug, their fragile ego requiring constant reinforcement. Their relationships often lack genuine intimacy because their focus remains relentlessly on themselves. They struggle to acknowledge the needs and feelings of others, their empathy stunted by their own self-absorption. Be wary of individuals who constantly seek the limelight, belittle others to elevate themselves, and seem incapable of genuine self-reflection. These are red flags that you might be dealing with someone who sees the world as a mirror, reflecting back their own imagined grandeur. Narcissists often inhabit a world of their own making, a fantasy realm meticulously crafted to reinforce their grandiose self-image. They spin elaborate tales of their own achievements, embellishing the truth to the point of fiction. They surround themselves with yes-men, individuals too intimidated or manipulated to challenge their distorted narratives. This retreat into fantasy isn't merely a harmless quirk, it's a defense mechanism to shield their fragile egos. You might notice them setting unrealistic goals only to abandon them at the first sign of difficulty. This fantasy world, while comforting to the narcissist, ultimately isolates them from genuine human connection. Their relationships become transactional, a means to an end, their interactions with others geared towards feeding their insatiable egos. If you constantly question the veracity of someone's stories, you might be witnessing the telltale signs of a narcissist lost in their carefully constructed fantasy realm. Imagine a bottomless pit, a void that can never be filled. This is the internal landscape of a narcissist when it comes to their need for admiration. They crave constant validation, their egos subsisting on a steady diet of compliments, praise, and reassurance. They might fish for compliments, subtly steering the conversation towards their accomplishments or talents. This insatiable need for admiration stems from a fundamental lack of self-esteem. Deep down, narcissists often harbor feelings of inadequacy and worthlessness. This constant need for validation can be exhausting for those around them. Relationships become one-sided, with the narcissist constantly seeking to be the center of attention. If you notice signs of insecurity masked by arrogance, you might be dealing with someone whose need for admiration masks a deep well of insecurity. Narcissists view relationships through a transactional lens, seeing others as mere instruments to fulfill their own needs and desires. They are masters of manipulation, skilled at charming, coercing, and exploiting those around them to get what they want. They might use flattery and charm to disarm their targets, creating a false sense of intimacy and connection. They might play the victim, garnering sympathy and support while deflecting any accountability for their own actions. This exploitative behavior stems from a fundamental lack of empathy. Narcissists struggle to recognize or understand the feelings of others. Their relationships often follow a predictable pattern: idealization, devaluation, and discard. Initially, they might shower their target with attention and affection, mirroring their interests and values. However, once the narcissist feels they have secured their target's admiration and loyalty, the devaluation begins. If you find yourself feeling used, manipulated, or emotionally drained in a relationship, it's essential to pay attention to these red flags. Imagine a world where your pain is invisible, your feelings irrelevant. This is the reality of dealing with a narcissist. They lack empathy, that fundamental human capacity to understand and share the feelings of others. While they might be able to mimic empathy when it serves their purposes, their ability to truly comprehend or share in the emotional experiences of others is severely limited. You might notice that they seem indifferent to your struggles, minimizing your problems or offering superficial platitudes instead of genuine support. This lack of empathy can be incredibly damaging in relationships. It creates an imbalance where one person's needs and feelings are constantly prioritized over the others. If you consistently feel emotionally invalidated in their presence, it's a sign that you're dealing with someone who lacks the fundamental capacity for empathy. Envy, a corrosive acid that eats away at the soul, is a constant companion to the narcissist. Their grandiose sense of self-importance relies on a belief that they are superior to others. Any threat to this carefully constructed facade triggers a wave of envy that can manifest in insidious ways. They might downplay the accomplishments of others, attributing their successes to luck or connections. They might become hypercritical, finding flaws where none exist, their words dripping with passive-aggressive venom. This constant comparison game is exhausting and ultimately futile. If you find yourself constantly being belittled, it's a sign that you're dealing with someone consumed by envy. Imagine a world seen from atop a self-constructed pedestal where everyone else appears inferior. This is the distorted reality inhabited by the narcissist. Their arrogance and haughty demeanor are a constant reminder of their perceived superiority. They might interrupt you constantly, their own thoughts and opinions taking precedence over yours. This arrogance isn't about confidence. It's a defense mechanism to mask their own deep-seated insecurities. By inflating their own importance and diminishing those around them, they create a false sense of security. This constant need to be right and in control can be exhausting for those around them. If you find yourself constantly walking on eggshells, it's a sign that you're dealing with someone whose arrogance and disdain are creating an impenetrable barrier to intimacy. Have you ever been trapped in a conversation that felt more like an interrogation than a dialogue? This is the conversational landscape with a narcissist. They might interrupt you mid-sentence, their own thoughts and stories deemed far more important than yours. They might steer the conversation back to themselves, no matter how unrelated the topic. This conversational dominance stems from their inability to see others as separate individuals with their own valid thoughts and feelings. They view conversations as a performance, an opportunity to captivate their audience. This one-sided communication style can be incredibly draining for those around them. If you find yourself feeling unheard and unvalued in conversations, it's a sign that you might be dealing with someone whose need for conversational control is stifling your voice. Imagine a world where every suggestion is interpreted as an attack, every critique a personal affront. This is the fragile reality inhabited by the narcissist, their egos as delicate as spun glass. They might become defensive, deflecting any blame and turning the tables on the person offering feedback. They might launch into counterattacks, their words laced with anger and resentment. This extreme sensitivity to criticism stems from a fundamental lack of self-worth. Any challenge to their carefully curated image triggers a wave of shame and insecurity. If you find yourself constantly biting your tongue, afraid to express your true thoughts or feelings, it's a sign that you're dealing with someone whose fragile ego is creating an environment of fear and resentment. Imagine a world where the rules simply don't apply, where consequences are for other people. This is the entitled reality inhabited by the narcissist, their sense of being above the norm permeating their interactions. They might cut lines, expecting to be served first. They might break promises without a second thought, their own needs and desires taking precedence. This sense of entitlement stems from a deep-seated belief that they are special and deserving of preferential treatment. This constant expectation of special treatment can be incredibly frustrating for those around them. If you find yourself constantly inconvenienced, it's a sign that you're dealing with someone whose sense of entitlement is creating an imbalanced and unhealthy dynamic in the relationship. We've explored 10 red flags that might indicate you're dealing with a narcissist, from their grandiose sense of self-importance and need for admiration, to their lack of empathy, envy, and sense of entitlement. Remember, these are just potential indicators, not a diagnosis. Understanding the dynamics of narcissism is crucial for protecting yourself from its harmful effects. By recognizing these red flags, you can set healthy boundaries, navigate interactions with greater awareness, and prioritize your own well-being. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to MindBlend for more explorations into the complexities of human behavior. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, your mental well-being is worth fighting for.